So gender-based violence is violence meted to a child or an adult by the virtue of the fact of their gender.
Yeah.
So if you look at issues of perhaps caning, that kuna wale students ambao wanaweza suffer more caning than others.
Yeah.
For example, my experience in primary school, that unakuta kuwa boys walikuwa wanachapwa sana. And I think perhaps that may be the case, especially in schools which do not respect the rule of law, that they continue still caning children.
Yeah.
So unakuta kuwa boys watachapwa more by the virtue of the fact that they're boys.
Yeah.
Kwa sababu it is said that boys wanafaa kuwa hao I don't know who said that boys hawasikii uchungu and all that. And then unakuta sasa punishment for girls itakuwa tofauti because they're girls.
Yeah.
So then that actually amounts to sexual gender-based violence. You're looking at the gender of this person. So either huyu ni boys, so boys are known to be strong, and they are supposed not to cry and whatever. So the teacher may find it easy to really cane a boy, and a boy will find it very difficult to cry. So they'll hold back to their tears because they want to, be a man. Because the society says, if you're a boy, you are a man. You're not supposed to cry. Those gender roles which have been created by the society. So then you find that even this punishment, they look at that. They look at, this is a girl, this is a boy. And gender-based, sexual gender-based violence in schools are, they're different, Like, for example, you find that what girls experience is not what boys experience in terms of if it is sexual in nature. So you find that you'll have teachers who will defile girls. You'll find them, going with them in their houses, seducing them and all that. Those are forms of violence which may not happen to the boy child. So it is that makes it form that nini of gender perspective, because they're looking at this person as this child as this is a boy, this is a girl, so a girl should be treated this way, boy should be treated this way, because that is what the society has put in place. So it manifests in many ways. There's physical, whereby there's the beating and all that. And then we also have the psychological, whereby, those verbal, where una akili, uwezi nini, you cannot do this, even this subject, you're doing very poorly and all that. And of course, wengine wanaambianga wewe ni sura mbaya, wewe hata nini, wewe hata ufai kusoma sana, uwezi pata bwana, so afadhali tu hata masomo haitakusaidia. We also have sexual, whereby now, defiling these children, you want to caress them, touch their bodies and all that. So we have all those forms that, basically manifest themselves or actually are found in schools. It is important to have this discussion today because sexual gender-based violence happens in schools as well. So children experience this, and it's interfering with the education of these children. It interferes with the development of these children, and some of them have been very ugly cases whereby we have children losing lives. Basically, when it's coming from either the teachers or it's coming from bullying in the schools. So they are very extreme cases, and it's very common. We have lost many children. So I think it is important to have this discussion so that we know how best can we take care of our children, and how can we prevent some of these ugly cases from happening, and how do we equip our children so that they are able to report when these cases actually happen. So, for instance, you find that what children experience in schools, especially those children who are attaining the age of teenagers. So you find that we have teachers who actually engage with them, getting into sexual relationship with these children. And sometimes it starts in a very funny way without even this child realizing the intention of the teacher. because the teacher is a person who is the child trusts this person. So they believe that this person is there to take care of them, is there to protect them and all that. So they will least expect that a teacher would have any sinister motive to harm them. So you find that this kind of teachers, what do? They ask these students to perhaps sometimes go to my house, pick this, or go to my house and wait for me there until I come. So because this children is obedient, she will go. They will go, and after some time, you find that slowly she starts seducing this child, and even defiling them and telling them you are not supposed to tell anybody. Yeah. So this child will perhaps go home, and one thing I put a blame on the parent. Not all parents, but majority of parents are not very keen in terms of realizing a change in a child, because a child who has been defiled, you'll see the withdrawal. You'll see that this child does not behave the same. So we do not have time to interact with our children. Yeah. Find out how was school. We've become more of career parents, so that then children do not get the attention of parents. So this happens, and I think one thing I find that it's not there's laxity in terms of implementation of the laws. And if we actually implemented our laws, because for me we have enough laws actually that protect children and protect gender-based violence within schools, but these laws are not implemented. Yeah. And secondly, that we do not have any mechanisms for reporting, that children do not know when this happens, how do I report? In the case that they're threatened, how do they go about it? So you find that they will keep quiet to it because they don't know the reporting mechanism, the reform mechanism. So they will keep quiet until things either become worse. We have situation whereby even some of these children commit suicide. So the reporting mechanisms need to be put clear. We need implementation of the laws, and we need action taken with the Ministry of Education, because we find that Ministry of Education sometimes the best it can do is transfer these teachers. And for me, transferring a teacher is transferring a problem. You're giving them an opportunity to continue doing that in other schools and continue, messing up with the children, with these children. So the Minister of Education is a bit relaxed in terms of, dealing with these teachers who actually, violate the rights of these children. For a child who is perhaps 16 years or 17, they may shy off. You may not know, like a change, unless they're quiet, or they're aloof. Like they don't want to be with people, they don't want to have discussion and all that. But one thing I would advise parents to do is to be hands-on on children. We had parents who were hands-on on us, that any change you'd notice. Parents who would help us do homework, like you come in the evening and your dad is there and they want to ask you, hey, what did you learn in school? Do you have some homework? Can I help you? So what are the teachers saying and whatever? So they want to know the story, how the day has been like in school. So out of that, if you have that engagement with your child, you have that bond with your child, because this is a bond that must also be created. This is it will be very difficult when you want to get information from this child, yet there's no bond. Like the parent is never there. And it becomes difficult for this child to open up because you're never there. That has not been created from the word go. So if that is what we need to create with our children, that we are free with our children, we have discussion with our children, and they're free to talk to us on matters that, affect them. So when that is created, this child will tell you that, mom or dad, this is what happened in school. This teacher, slept with me, or this and this happened. So if that happens, then you see as a parent, then you take action very fast, because it means that first you will know about the issue of that particular day. So then you will be able to take this child to hospital, so that then within 72 hours, before 72 hours elapse, so that you are able to protect this child so that they get medication that will protect them from HIV and from getting pregnant and all that. But if that does not happen, that you come to you come to know when this child is pregnant, then you will not have help with this child. So parents need to create a bond with their children, need to find out that how has the child fared, because we have left children to house helps and teachers. So when the parents either come very late when the children are asleep, and perhaps either leave very early or leave after the children have gone to school. So then we are not, we do not have enough time for our children. Then you're not able to know these things. So we must create a bond with our children. If you're far away, I have seen some of my colleagues, like they call. They're far away, we're in the field, working, but they called, wanting to talk to the children. So how was school? And I have one who talks to each of the children. How was your school? How was it? And these children, if there's anything that happened in school, they'll say, teacher did this and this and this, teacher did this. So you get to know, and then you get to take action when it is still, very early. As opposed to when you get to know things happened, like a million years ago, then it becomes very difficult to help. One, I would say that we Africans, we usually shy off from speaking about sex or sex education, which I think we should get off that and start being very open with our children, either at home or in schools. So I think for me, sex education is very, very important. If it's not happening in schools, then it is something that should actually be introduced. We have cultures that, for example, when you look at some of the cultures that perhaps, are replicated across, there's that girls should are meant to just get married. So it's a culture which is not pleasant, because it denies the girl child education, and perhaps just ending up, settling down when they're so young and do not have the capability of being a parent or being a wife. And those are some of the cultures that we must do away with to ensure that our girls go to school. And then also, some cultures like, female genital mutilation. In as much that they are very common in the rural areas, they also happen in Nairobi, whereby these families that live in Nairobi, now they're taking a different turn in terms of taking these cases to hospital. So it is done in a way that you may not even think that it is happening. So it is so discreetly and done in a hospital, and these are the cultures that we need to shun away. Do away with, because if we are talking about initiation rights and whatever, there are many things that we can do to show these girls that they have reached that age of teenage and all that, but we don't need to take them through such a process that becomes dangerous to their lives, and some of them lose their lives. We also have a culture of having children provide. For example, we have cases of children who, after school, they're going to sell. They're going to sell njugu karanga in the city. They're going to sell, sweets in the city and all that. It's a bad culture because it is exposing these children. And some of these cases are ugly. I don't know if you sometimes back saw a case of this child which was aired on Citizen TV. This child who, in the evening, she goes to Nairobi and she sells njugu karanga. Goes back home around 1 o'clock, then sleeps until around 4 o'clock, then wakes up, by 4 o'clock to, just clean up and see what to, out of what they got, if they can, have breakfast and all that. So you imagine the hands where this child falls to, the people she's selling this stuff to. She goes even inside bars and all that. It is so dangerous for this child. So you put this child at risk. They go home at night, which is very risky for anybody, including adults. And they're not protected. They take, public means and all that. So we put this child at risk. And I think it's a bad culture. That is, in as much that we may have difficulties in terms of providing for these children, but we should not put these children to such risks by pushing them to go and sell so that they're able also to provide. I think it's a culture that we need to do away with. We I'm happy that when that case happened sometimes back, that the women rep for Nairobi, that was I think Rachel Shebesh, took up that case, and now at that point they ensured that now the school feeding program happened in that school, and I'm happy that we have the school feeding program in many Nairobi schools, because these children are forced to go because of food. The primary thing is food. So if this child can be fed in school and also given a little of that food to go home in the evening so that they're able to, like give another sibling who has not eaten, you will not see these children, in the streets, trying to sell and all that. So I think that is another culture that you need to do away with. There's also another culture whereby we are giving children forms to go, there's a marathon that needs to happen, or what, and then they have these forms that they go, asking for sponsorship, asking for money and all that. That also puts these children at risk. So we need to find a way of fundraising for some of these things so that we do not put children at risk of, walking around with the pieces of papers trying to, get money here and there. So if you look at psychological, some of these children, they're psychologically affected for example, and I think I said that this gender-based violence, some of them are verbal, they're psychological in nature. I want to give a case of this child who was also, I think I saw it on social media, who was told by a teacher that they're stupid, they can't perform, and they were actually beaten for performing, badly. And there were underlying issues why this child was not performing well. And this child really cried, when they were narrating their story. They were really crying in tears, Like this child was traumatized, was psychologically, being told, put down and told you do not have the brains. You cannot, you cannot perform. Which I think is very, very wrong. So these are things we need to, stop. And you find that this may lead to this child dropping out of school. So these violences, I've actually seen some of the children drop out of school, and they say they don't want to go to school because they are so affected that they do not see the reason why they should keep going to school. The other thing is that, for the girls, they end up feeling like for a girl, then you don't need to go to school. If, you end up, you just end up getting married, getting pregnant and all that, then you do not need to you do not need to go to school. So then it makes other girls, like if they're seeing other girls to drop out of school, will you see the need of going to school? So you'll not see the importance of going to school. So we end up seeing these children get married very early because all along the teachers did not, or the caregivers did not show them that school is important. You're seen as, you're seen as a sex symbol or something. So then, why do you need education? So this has affected some of these children to that point that they don't see the importance of school. Some of them have been, so traumatized that they have ended up committing suicide. Yeah. So we have seen death out of some of these cases because this child is wondering, how do I now live with myself? That I have this person who defiled me. I am pregnant. I am a child and I am pregnant. What do I tell the world? And some of these girls, were so bright in school. And for the boys, sometimes you get abused that you're too old, boys of your age have families. So then, again, that leads to dropping out of school. Because then you're so bullied that you don't get peace. So you end up dropping out of school and, starting a family at a very early age and then living in poverty. Yeah. Because education is very critical in terms of, it gives you a background or a foundation that is very, very important in terms of your growth and in terms of, just giving you the skills that you need to actually face the world and get opportunities whereby now you can live a comfortable life. So without good education, then it means life can be very difficult because we live in many situations, people will ask for academic qualification. Yeah. So you come to me and nataka unitafutie kazi. Unataka kazi ya aina gani? Kazi yoyote sasa ndio gani? Umesoma mpaka wapi? Uko na makaratasi gani? People will ask you. academic qualification. People will always ask you, even if you want a security job, whereby you want to be a security guard, they'll ask for your academic qualification. So that is very important. So then that means that some of these violations make our children drop out of school early, and then they languish in poverty. Because if you come from a poor background, then most of the time these children want to work hard so that they do not live that kind of a life. They want to live a better life and even provide for their parents. So when you kill the thought of this child, or the future of this child, what have you done to this child? I think this is something that we can have a discussion with the ministry, so that then we see that it is done in a good way, so that we are not just having maybe pin drop, whereby you're just maybe dealing with a certain school, but it's a program that now it is made to actually reach out on the schools within the country, so that then it is done in phases. So properly done, properly planned, and ensure that we reach out to most of the teachers, so that then we are able to deal with these cases. Today I got a call from a teacher who wants to be trained as a paralegal. So there are those who already are taking the initiative that they want to be trained. They want to have that legal knowledge, so that they're able to protect the children within their workspaces, and just ensure that the due procedures of the law is followed and all that. So, but you see, it becomes very difficult to train one person or two people or three people. It is not, economically, it does not make sense.
Yeah.
So when it is done in bulk, then it makes economic sense. So then it means that we may have a discussion with the Ministry of Education on how to actually train teachers, so that we ensure that they have the legal knowledge of protecting children. I think what we need to do is, one, go for the good men, to champion for that. The good men who believe in protecting children, who believe in protecting girls, who believe in protecting women. That these are the people now you go for, so that they act as role models. So that is one model that can actually be used in terms of them now talking to the men and all that. Of course, the men will always want to have a way out, because the majority of them are the perpetrators. And that is why they usually complain that the sexual offenses in our umiza, that sexual offenses in leto kuwaumiza. Sexual offenses is not bias. If a woman is found to, defile a child, then they will go to jail. There's that woman who is in Kisumu prison right now, that was jailed for 15 years for defiling a young boy who was around, I think, 17 years. And she tried to use a defense that they met in the disco and whatever, but they were told, you were warned by the parents of this child that this is a child, in as much that they look like an adult, but this is a child. But they did not hear. So by the end of the day, they were found guilty and they were jailed for 15 years. Was that a man or a woman? That was a woman.
Yes.
So the law is not selective. The law is not biased. The law, is brought to deal with any perpetrator, whether female or male. So that is what I would tell the men, that they need to, adhere to the law to stop, violations, and especially on children, because they do it the most. Okay, it is happening in schools, it is happening at home, it is happening, everywhere, by people who ideally should be protecting these children. And that is why the law is very even harsh, because imagine that this teacher is an uncle to this child, and they have defiled this child. So what I should tell the men, that they just stop this. I don't want to use a word that I cannot use on radio, but they should not just stop this, violations.
Yeah.
Because violations, gender-based violence, is majorly done by men.
Yeah.
So the people who suffer the most is the children and the women.
women.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think for me, we have children officers who are very good. one of the things I usually tell the paralegals that you cannot handle a child's matter without engaging the children's department.
Yeah.
So we have children offices within locations, sub-locations and all that. So work with the children's officers, because some of them are extremely good. So good that when a matter is brought to them, and even matters of just neglect and all that, when the parties cannot agree in terms of taking care of this child, the matter is taken to court by the children's department. I saw that majorly in Mombasa, where we were working with the children's officers in Mombasa. And they would take matters to court at Tononoka Children's Court and ensure that those involved are taken to court, and they have to answer to the court.
Mm-hmm.
So we may have not gotten to the level of uko maju,
Mm-hmm.
but I think slowly we can get to that level. But I think it will take many years. One, that I'm not just portioning blame to the government, but I'm portioning that it starts from the community level, from the parent level, the basic unit of the society, the family.
Yeah.
From the family level. Do families know that they have the responsibility of taking care of children?
Mm-hmm.
How many families know that even Article 53 of the Constitution, they may not be aware? How many know that we have the Children's Act 2022? They may not be aware. So you see, we have to start down there. First, by the family. Second, the community. Slowly to the systems, and then for the government, I would say implementation. But the government, there are areas where implementation is slow. Issues of corruption, of course, is also eating into our system. That we find that some of these cases, the chiefs wants to deal with these cases. Yet these are criminal matters that should not be dealt with the chief. But you see the chief, the elders, they say, no, just pay this one, utupatie sisi kidogo hii kesi tumalize. So it's not just, you cannot just put nini on the government. We start right from the family. Does the mother and father know that they have equal parental responsibility of taking care of these children, whether they are married or not? Do the community know that they have a responsibility of protecting children? Do these government entities, children's entities, do they know that they have a mandate of ensuring that children are protected? Once we deal with the cases from down there, then the app will not be a problem, because if the parents are not aware of even the laws, then how do they even report? The same thing with the community. So the violations happen, and then it is not reported. So the issue of the government does not even come in, because government will depend. You bring in a case, we take it to court, Sindio?
Yeah.
So if we are not even bringing in the cases, then what happens? Yeah. So it's bigger than just looking at the government.
Okay.
Yeah. So one thing I would tell them, that report. In the defilers or the violators will want to silence you. So tell you, if you report, I will kill you.
Yeah.
You just need to report and say that he told me he will kill me. Then that will be taken. This child will be protected. So I would ask them to report. I would also ask them to call 116. This is a child helpline that will ensure that this child conveys the information and gets help, so that then it will not be known. It's a toll-free number, so this child can call from any phone and ensure that this matter is reported. A child can also walk to the police station, the nearest police station, gender desk, and actually report. So what I will emphasize on, that they must report, because if they don't report, some of these cases may not be known. They may not be physically visible, like it's not, like physical, or maybe it is sexual, but you see now you cannot know unless this child speaks out and whatever. So if they should always ensure they report, or speak to any person that they are comfortable with, someone they can confide in, who can actually help them blow out the matter. Okay. Yes, but they should never hold the issue to them. They must seek for help. So I think one, that you see, when children are sensitized, children, you see, the same way I used to fear the police. Yeah. That you see the police, you run away. Yeah. So with the time, getting into legal work, then you realize, Allah, these guys are just human beings like any other person. That you can actually work with them. because now our work entails working with the police, and you realize they're normal people. So that fear was instilled in us when we were young, and because it was instilled in us because within them there are bad police officers who actually behave like the way our parents used to tell us that you will find a police officer beating a child, which ideally should not be happening. But what I can say that we need to take our children even for tours in police stations. Let them understand how the police station works, how they can report a case. Like we have is this called the curriculum-based, what do you call it? Competency-based education. Yes. So this competency-based education, now it gives the opportunity of even taking children to a police station and getting them to understand how a police station works, how you report, where do you report to, how do you move and all that. You see, once they start getting used, because for me to get used to the police and the fear gone is when I started working with the police, where now I'm taken that this is the police station, these are the courts, and you start engaging them, then you realize, Allah, so these are not bad people after all. So that needs to start at the school level, whereby we are taking children for tour. We are taking them to the children's department offices. They get to understand how it works. We are taking them to police stations. We are taking them to courts so that they understand the entire justice system. Once these children get to understand the entire justice system, reporting will be easier. They'll know what to do. But when we think that learning the justice system is for adults, then we get it wrong. Those are things that we need to, because these are systems or these are institutions that are there to protect us as Kenyans, all of us. So why is it that we are not having children interact with these systems? So we want to take children to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to see aeroplanes and whatever, but we can't take them to a police station. Why? We need to take them to the police station as well, so that they get to understand the justice systems when they're still, young and growing. Take them to different departments, the probation, witness protection agency, the children's department, all these departments that deal with the justice, so that these children are way aware. Let them understand how the gender desk works and how it is very, very friendly. That if they go there, if it is a girl, then they'll be handled by a female police officer and not a male police officer. So when they get to have that, then believe me, these children will report these matters to the police as well. What I would say that we all have responsibility in terms of sensitizing. So we can do our sensitization in our small ways. Right now, I'm having small sensitization. If you go to what do you call it? You go to my Facebook pages, you'll find that I'm trying to sensitize the public on the, on the penal code. If you go to this other channel, it's called what? TikTok, you'll find me there, just telling people that, doing this is an offense, and you find it in this particular section of the law. So sensitize people. So that is what I'm doing currently, and you'll find it on my Instagram, you'll find them on my Facebook, you'll find them on my TikTok pages. Okay. Yeah.